There are a lot of ways to play Minecraft, and survival techniques can help any player, so in this video learn 20 things you should start doing in Minecraft. Let's say you want to cook some meat, but you do not have a furnace with you or you do not want to make one. All you have to do is make a campfire like this, then take the campfire, place it down, and you can cook your meat right on there. In fact, you can cook anything that is cooked to become edible in Minecraft. So for instance, you could cook potatoes on here, you could cook, let's say, some pork chops on here like we are, you could even cook chicken or mutton or something like that. And what's nice is that this is infinite free fuel. We even get to see those pop off once it's done. We can put 4 more on there, and normally after those would be done cooking, that would be the full use of 1 piece of coal, because if it was a furnace, 1 coal only smelts 8 items. However, in this scenario here, we have an easy way to cook all of our food. Let's say you want to build a bunch of blocks in a row like this, but you do not want to hold down the shift key for all that time as it's kind of tiring. All you have to do is go into your options, then go to accessibility settings, and down here, turn sneak to toggle. You can also turn sprint to toggle if you want. And now once we press down the shift key, we will stay like that. I'm not pressing that key anymore. It'll just stay like that until I press it again. So we can basically place down all these blocks without having to worry about holding down that shift key. And like I just showed over here, this does also work with the sprint key. So for instance, we could be running here and we can just hold that sprint key. And so basically whenever we walk now, it will always be sprinting. This isn't the most useful thing, as of course double tapping the W key and going forward, you will also stay sprinting, but still having that sprint to toggle key can be quite useful. But especially when building like this, it can really save a lot of effort. You can also toggle this in the controls menu right here. We're flying around with Elytra, and let's say underneath us we see a place we want to go to. Like maybe we want to land down here at this little bit of stony shore, but because we're really high up in the air, we do not want to do a complicated landing that could be dangerous. All you have to do while you're flying is simply eat a chorus fruit while you're over the area that you want to land, and you will appear on the ground completely safely like this. It's basically like an auto landing feature for Elytra, which can be incredibly useful, as in many situations you can have a really quick way of going from flying to being on the ground. Also, if let's say you're being chased by another player while having Elytra, this could also be quite useful, as then you can go to the ground really quickly and they will not know where you went. But definitely overall an awesome mechanic to use for quick landing. If you're fighting the Ender Dragons, something I would definitely suggest doing is bringing some glass bottles with you, especially the first time you fight it, as then you can really easily get some Dragon's Breath without having to resummon it. It does tend to shoot the Dragon's Breath at the player very frequently. For instance like this. In fact, if we turn on hitboxes, you can actually see exactly how large the Dragon's Breath is, and every time we pick it up it gets smaller and smaller. So right there you see we just got a bunch of Dragon's Breath, and it also makes it a lot safer, so you can pick up that Dragon's Breath there without having any issue of being killed by it. In fact, the Dragon's Breath the dragon spits out when it's at the little podium here is even better, because you can pick up way more of it. So definitely a good idea to bring these with you, and with the Dragon's Breath there's a bunch of things you could make, including tipped arrows. Now personally, I would say that one of the most underused items in Minecraft is the book and quill. But I would actually suggest using this when you're playing survival, because it can be great for marking down different coordinates without having to, let's say, have an external notepad or some other note on, let's say, your phone or your computer when you're playing the game. But on here you can just open it up. You can put down in this book important information like coordinates of different cool areas. You can go around here and, let's say, store different bits of information. For instance, you could have like a secret area you could mark down the coordinates for, or you could even write down goals for yourself. And I would say overall the book and quill is one of the best ways to also add lore to a world, survival, multiplayer, or a map, whatever you want. And just a really cool thing. Now let's say you're in a world with cheats on and you want to change your game mode without having to manually type in /gamemode space the type of game mode and then space your player name, is if you're playing on Java Edition, if you press F3 and F4 at the same time on your keyboard, then this menu will come up where you can change between game modes. And basically the way it works is when you hold down F3, then press F4, every time you press F4 it changes what part of the menu you're looking at here, so it changes what's selected. So with the F3 held down and the F4 being pressed every time, we could, let's say, switch to creative, then we could switch to adventure, then we could switch to spectator, to survival, and just all through the different game modes there really easily. This can be a really great way of switching between game modes if you're trying to test things out. I found it's especially useful between creative and spectator mode, as let's say you could fly down into a certain area, then change back into creative. If you keep running out of food in Minecraft and you want an easy source of it, all you have to do is find yourself a mushroom island, and if you're in a world where there's already one of these discovered, that's even better. And simply right click on a mushroom with the bowl, and it'll milk it, giving you a mushroom stew. And this is incredibly useful, and you can actually infinitely milk these as much as you want, just keep right clicking on them. What makes it even better is if you feed a mushroom a dandelion, but this only actually works on the brown mushrooms, which are caused by a lightning bolt converting a normal mushroom into a brown mushroom. So unless you're lucky, this is only really a bit of a later game thing, but still, if you feed this cow a flower and then right click on it with a bowl, you will get the corresponding suspicious stew. And for instance, a dandelion suspicious stew gives you saturation. So this brown mushroom cow is incredibly overpowered because you can get this infinite free food from it with just a couple dandelions. And even with these standard mushrooms there, you can get infinite mushroom stew, which is actually not as bad of a stew as you might think. And simply bringing one of these over to your base could make you never have to worry about food ever again. Both bamboo and moss are really important items to have in Minecraft, one of them giving you infinite sticks and fuel, and the other one giving you access to a wide range of lush blocks. However, finding these can be somewhat difficult, generally needing to go to a jungle and a lush cave to get it. However, if you go into shipwrecks, oftentimes in the loot chests there, if you go into the chest that generally has like the food type items, there can often be moss blocks there like we just found here. And you can also find bamboo there, which can save you a lot of time, especially with bamboo where jungles can be common, but are not always that easy to find, whereas shipwrecks are everywhere in the world. You can get those wherever you want, and get those moss blocks and bamboo to start up your farms without ever having to go to a lush cave or a bamboo jungle biome. You might sometimes find the need in your Minecraft world to get a random number for something, or to select, let's say, a certain player randomly, but how do you do this just inside the game? Super simple. All you need to do is grab out a dropper or a dispenser, place in how many ever different types of items that you want. Let's say each one of these represents a different player. Then just put a lever on the side of the dispenser, flick it, and the chance of any of these going out of here is completely random. You would see the red one came first again, that's because it's truly random. If we do it again, the red one will come first one more time. Doing it again, here comes the yellow one. If we do it again, you'll see here comes orange, here comes blue. It's completely random which one comes out first, and that's really cool because you can use this to pick different players for something, sort of like drawing straws, or you could even name each one of these blocks a different thing, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and have a working die in Minecraft. You could probably make some really cool games of this where there's a different random chance you could win or not. And overall, it's really interesting to utilize the random number functionality of the dropper and dispenser in Minecraft. So if you ever need to select something randomly in Minecraft, be sure to use the dropper. Fishing rods are kind of a boring item. All you can do is fish with them, which I guess is kind of a cool mechanic, but there's really not much more to them than that. Or is there? Actually, there's a lot more you can do with fishing rods, including a really cool functionality where they can pick up items. So if we fling the fishing rod at this item here, you'll see it kind of connects on there. If we right click to reel it in, that item will come closer to us, and if we sort of do it the right way, that item can become even closer and then we can pick it up. This doesn't seem that useful, but it can actually be incredibly useful if we're trying to move items around really specifically without picking them up. Or let's say if you have an item trapped in a certain area where you can't get, like let's say maybe a 1 block wide deep place like this, you could for instance pick up that item from all the way back there. You could pick it up with the fishing rod there without having to break those blocks, and of course depending on the scenario that could be super useful. Let's say you're playing Minecraft in hard mode and there's a bunch of zombies chasing you, so you decide you'll make yourself safe by going inside a house. Well, there is one problem with this. These zombies will try and break down your door. So to avoid the zombies from breaking down your door, all you have to do is place a fence gate outside your door if you are playing in hard mode. Then you can be inside if you're completely safe. When the zombies try and get you to break down this door, they simply cannot get into it. They also cannot open up the fence gate here, so you're completely safe inside your house and your doors will never be broken. And this may not seem like that useful of a thing to do, but zombies can be rather deadly in Minecraft, as you can see right here, so avoiding death by them, or even them, let's say, destroying some of your villagers, can be very useful. No one likes a slow farm in Minecraft, and something you can do to speed it up is to have your bees pollinate it. That's right, all you have to do is have bees that have pollen on them fly across crops, and it'll actually bone meal them in a sense, or make them have growth stages go faster. So for instance, this bee right here, you can see some of these crops have green particles go above it, and they will grow faster. So having a setup like this, where you have bees that sort of have to go across your crop field to get the flowers, then go back across that crop field to go to their hives. This is a really efficient setup for growing any farms that you have, because that pollen on them will also help make your plants grow faster. I think that's a really cool feature because it sort of hints to the fact that plants need bees to grow in real life. It's also very aesthetically pleasing to have these beehives, flowers, and farms all in one, and it even being more efficient that way. Getting mobs into minecarts can be quite difficult. However, a good trick to doing that is to make them go into the minecarts at an angle. So for instance here you can see it's really hard to get it in there. It did eventually go in, but with something like a villager you just could not push it in there. However, something you can do to make it be a lot easier is if the minecart is on a corner. For whatever reason, when minecarts are on corners, it picks up mobs a lot easier, so you can see that it got in much easier than it did before. And with the villager, all you'd have to do is just push it simply into there on the corner, because basically minecarts make items go in them when they're on the corner much easier, whereas when they're not on corners it can be hard to get the mob in there. So definitely next time you're loading up a villager into a minecart, remember to make sure the minecart's in a corner, and that it'll go in there well. If you've ever wanted to go AFK in Minecraft, you might have had an issue where when you exit Minecraft it'll just pause and there won't be any way to make it not pause, it'll just go to this screen. But something you can do is if you press F3 plus P on your keyboard, it'll enable and disable pause on lost focus. This basically means that if you're not on the screen it'll automatically pause, and it's set to that by default, but if you change it, so then it is pause on lost focus disabled, then you can leave the screen, let your game AFK without it being up. That's an easy way of having that AFK work without having to have your screen be running Minecraft, so it's super useful for, let's say, having an AFK in the background or just having the game idling. And of course this only has to do with single player, but still definitely useful for any farms you're trying to run on there. Zombifying villagers is expensive and annoying, but something you can do to make it a lot easier is to not use one potion per zombie villager. So if all the villagers are within range of each other, you can simply throw down one potion and then right click on all of them with the golden apples there, and you've just effectively used one potion to make all of these 8 zombies become normal villagers again. And of course it would still use up all the golden apples, but reducing the amount of weakness potions used from 8 down to 1 is definitely a benefit, and will save you a lot in the long run. Like let's say for instance all these villagers were in minecarts, you can try and get them as close to each other as possible, then throw down that weakness potion, and then you can just use a couple weakness potions to zombify all your villagers. Have you ever been playing Minecraft and you see the screen being very dark, it's hard to see things, and you just wonder overall how could I make this game a little bit easier to see things in? Well, what's awesome is that there's a very easy way of doing that. All you have to do is open up your game files, so basically go to users, then your user, then go over to app data, and in app data go to roaming and then Minecraft. In Minecraft, scroll down, go to your settings file or your options file, scroll down in there and change the gamma from whatever number it currently is up to 100, save it, and then launch your game again. So you do not want to be doing any of that when your game is not loaded. And your gamma will turn from what it is right now, very dark and somewhat hard to see, to a full night vision effect. Sort of like you always have a night vision potion on. It makes everything really easy to see. You've probably seen some different YouTubers use this before, and overall a great thing so that you lose absolutely no visibility between daytime and nighttime. And it's actually even a little bit better quality than the night vision, as there's some weird color effects with night vision sometimes, but you do not get them when your gamma is set to 100, and unfortunately this only works in Java Edition. If you're in late game Minecraft and are doing a lot of exploring, something I would definitely suggest making is a portable base. Now the best way to make a portable base, which is basically in your ender chest have a shulker box with a bunch of supplies in it. So I would generally suggest having some good armor, some good tools, maybe some building materials, some, crafting, smelting, brewing materials, some items that are maybe a little bit harder to get depending on where you are. So for instance, you could start a jungle tree farm or maybe a stone farm and you could plant some food down. And more or less just to give yourself a good starting out box to build out a base if you're traveling around. around. And also if you die and lose all your items, you could use this as some emergency supplies to put all these on, and then go back out to, let's say, defeat whatever tried killing you, instead of going around with nothing on you, or if you do have a lot of stuff, having to sort through all your chests and things like that to find it. You can just have a pre-made box, so whenever you do need these emergency supplies, you will have them. And of course the emergency supplies can also double as a portable base, perfect for instantly setting something up with everything contained in just one shulker box. Now a big issue in Minecraft is drowning, and in Java Edition you can place down a door and that works as oxygen, but this doesn't work in Bedrock, so here's a solution that works in both Java and Bedrock to never drown, and that is to bring some magma blocks with you. Basically, let's say we're traveling around maybe in an underwater cave, or just underwater, we place down a magma block, we can shift, go on that magma block there, so shifting or crouching, of course, if you're in Bedrock, will make it so that you are not going to get hurt with the magma. Of course, if we're not crouching, we will get hurt. But if we do crouch, we'll get oxygen from there, and we can just swim away from there pretty easily. In fact, anywhere inside this bubble stream will give you oxygen, so placing one of these down is really useful. You could even try and trick some drown into it, and they can get hurt on the magma there, so overall a really useful block to bring with you when you're exploring underwater. And since this sort of generates underwater already, definitely a good way to have your emergency oxygen supplies the way that Mojang intended. Have you ever wondered exactly how much durability your tools have? You can see this green or red or orange bar on them, but it doesn't really tell you the exact number of uses you have left of it. Well, if you're in Java Edition, simply press F3 plus H on your keyboard. That will enable advanced tool tips, and then hovering over here, you can see it shows us the max durability and the current durability. So for instance, the golden pickaxe is on 8 out of 32, and this diamond sword is on 1549 out of 1561. This is especially useful with certain enchanted tools, where you want to use them just up till when they're almost broken, because then you can repair them with the full usage of it. Whereas if you, let's say, didn't know how much durability was left, like on here, maybe we didn't know that, we could break one more block and we would have lost that tool forever. But with advanced tooltips, you can know your exact durability. Plus it gives you some other interesting little bits of information as well. When you're farming oak trees, sometimes you'll get small ones and sometimes you'll get large ones. There's actually a way you can always get large ones if you want. Simply place a block like this, then place an oak sapling right next to it so it's one block above it, and bone meal that oak sapling. And when the oak sapling eventually does grow, it will always grow into the giant oak tree. They can also grow into a balloon oak like this one did here. Balloon oaks are basically the oak tree with the large circular leaves. So it's definitely nice to have a guaranteed way of getting large oak trees in your world like this. With so many more oak blocks on them, it's really a more efficient way of getting the oak wood type. And even if you do just get some balloon oaks here and there, they also have more oak leaves than normal trees, so either way it's much more efficient. And simply placing a couple blocks in your farm, giving yourself mostly the giant oak trees, is definitely a benefit. Hopefully you enjoyed these 20 things you should start doing in Minecraft, but the real question is, will you start doing them?